Hey guys, welcome back to the Rake. We have a very special guest, someone we've wanted to have on for a while now, Ebony Kenney. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you too. It's
Yeah.
nice to see some friendly faces in the poker world.
Yeah, I should have known to try to look cute today. I really screwed up. I'm not good at dressing for the pod. You always look so put together and cute. I've been dressing for pods. Like one day I was like, I'll wear a dress, and it's like that's the sweatpants pod. I'm like, damn it.
I know. I'm wearing tracksuits now. I've become full scraggy. I'm just.
I'm waiting for like the full head to toe, like just floral. If you come out with like a floral tracksuit, send me the link. I'm gonna also order it. And yeah.
You're in Canada? Whereabouts are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm right outside of Vancouver in Coquitlam. So
what's your plan? So are you just kind of moving there indefinitely?
So me being up here has been the craziest thing. You both know that I have two children and they're both in the States right now.
Yeah.
And so this was like coming up here was, I came up here before quarantine happened, before the border was closed. And I came up here for 4 months for a paid project. And when the border closed, my kids and I had a long conversation and they were just like, Mom, this is a paid project. You can take care of us while you're there. If you come home, then what? Mm-hmm. And so we, as a family, decided to make the sacrifice in order for me to be here because it just made more sense. Because as you both know, like playing live and converting that to online, just the transition, even if you're a winning live cash player or even a somewhat profitable tournament player, converting that to online is like, yeah, okay, wishful thinking to immediately convert that online anyway. And so for me, it just made sense to be up here. So right now we're in the process of trying to get my kids to come up here because frankly, Texas is fucked. I'm not in a hurry to get back there. My kids, the quality of life is just nothing. My kids have just been staying home every day. And they're 19 and 16 for the fuckers who are out there like, oh my God, you left your kids. Like they're adults. One's an adult and one is is 16. So it's just, they're very amazing kids and they're very supportive and we're just hopeful. And I would like to just never go back to the States if I didn't have to.
That's crazy. How's it been in Canada? Is it like the response been okay?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, I stayed under quarantine just because I didn't want to take any chances. So there was a period of time, I think for like 6 weeks, didn't go anywhere. But for the most part now, when I do leave the house, I wear a mask and I carry my hand sanitizer and I grocery shop with gloves on and stuff. I'm like overly cautious, but in British Columbia, which is the province I live in, the cases are just so minimal and life is kind of getting back to normal. So it's like, I went out for a glass of wine a couple weeks ago and I was like,
yeah, it's so
oh my God.
It sounds similar to what it is in the UK where actually masks just became mandatory for being outside like a day or two ago, but we're totally open not totally, but mostly 90%. And cases are just pretty low and we're just doing a really good job of respecting it. And people are really good about being distanced. That's the key, I think. And yeah, like in some states, especially in the States, it's like, they just don't care. My dad lives in Florida. He said that
unreal in Florida.
Yeah, he said that, well, because my dad like will go out, but he'll ask people like, so what do you think about it? And they like laugh. They like don't even.
Yeah. It's a joke. My sister has COVID actually now. She just got it. Yeah. So my sister can't catch a fucking break. She's the one who got misdiagnosed with cancer last year and then it wasn't cancer. And then just a month ago, she had a surgery to remove a tumor and they had to remove 40% of her right lung.
Yes.
So now she's the one that has COVID and I'm just like, but she had to like, it's just so crazy because Florida and Texas is just run by idiots. Like everything bad that happens in the States, I feel like happens from Florida. And I'm saying that as someone who's from Florida. So it's like all the idiotic shit definitely happens there. And I can't understand why people, even if you think it's like bullshit, like what's the risk of just taking the precautions and like being right, you know, a year from now, 2 years from now, and be like, motherfucker, I told you I was right, versus like, if you were wrong, it's so catastrophic. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Because you're a poker player. I think that is like part of our brains get slightly more logical. We have to. And I think you just realize, like, doing a risk analysis there, you're like, okay, the annoyance of wearing a mask, pretty small. Oh, if the government's just trying to control you, oh no, got me to wear a piece of cloth over my face for like 3 months. Like, big deal. And if you're right about wearing a mask, you could actually have just saved people's lives by being in a grocery store wearing a mask. So it's not even close. It's just so stupid. And the argument I keep hearing from the people are like, oh, they're stealing your liberties, like, by making you wear a mask. I'm like, do you wear pants?
Yeah.
You wear pants when you go to the store, right? Like, this is not that much different. They're not trying to take away some like huge fundamental right that you have. And it's in the short term. It's while the pandemic is going on.
It's just literally no difference. Like the signs, no shoes, no shirt, no service, you know, and then, oh, you have a problem with it. What about as women? There's 2 cities in all of the United States where women can go topless, but we have to wear a shirt. We have to wear all of this stuff, but you guys are fine with us being policed. But all of a sudden, just in the meltdowns that these people are having, it's just, oh my gosh, the amount of entitlement, it blows my mind. I'm just like, oh, okay, I see.
I just hate that it makes America kind of a joke right now. Like, I hate that, because I'm like, I'm pretty proud of a lot of stuff about our country, but not this. This is like pretty crappy that all other countries are like kind of getting it under control. I get messages from my friends with like, we're all out at bars, like in the, you know, in other areas of the world. And I'm like, well, that sounds cool. Like, I'm kind of afraid to even go grocery shopping. I'm still doing like Amazon Fresh because Vegas is just insane. Just people are living normally. Like, I had to drive down the strip on my way to somewhere else. And I'm looking and I'm like, this is just a normal day. Like, everyone's just walking down the strip in packs of people. Maybe 1 out of 10 people were wearing masks on the strip. I'm like, it's just scary.
Petri dish.
Yep.
So tell us about this project that you're up there doing.
So it's the Triple Threat Challenge, and it's John Party and Drew Gonzalez from the Thirst Lounge. And we got together and created 3 teams, and we got 2 people on each of our team that each got a $2,000 bankroll to play. And it's been a lot of fun because we weren't particularly looking for streamers, but we ended up getting 6 streamers, which is exciting. And I have my team is Team Bad Bitch, which is very exciting. Yeah. And I have Gordo and Amy on my team, and Amy is new to poker. She's been playing for just a couple of years, been streaming for a little less than a year. And then Gordo, who's been playing, I guess, trying to play more full-time for a few years. And for me, it's just super exciting to be able to kind of mentor and give back. Like, I'm not teaching them how to play poker and like coaching them. We do hand reviews and stuff, but it's more so just to have a community and to lean on. And the 6 of the team members are in this WhatsApp group that is just, I mean, probably like 400 messages a day. I don't even read it. It's too much. It's just way too much, but kudos to them. But it's just been really great. My team, we've lost because I'm the only one that has 2 full-time employees. They both have full-time jobs, so they can't like play as much as the other ones. So though my team is made the most profit versus for the points, it ends this Saturday actually. So we're it's been a lot of fun and it's been exciting. But it's definitely, it was a lot different than what we thought it was going to be because of COVID. We were going to initially just me, John, and Drew were going to just shoot like film content and do a lot of stuff in Canada and go to live tournaments and live cash games. But
yeah,
you know, life happens.
It's cool that you're doing any content creation right now, though. I feel like it all is grinding to a halt. Like, I was thinking about it when I was watching TV. I was like, I don't really watch that much TV usually. I'm watching so much because there's not a whole lot else to do. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to just run out of new shows. Like, nothing's been filming. There's nothing going on. So like, anyone creating content right now is like doing a good thing for everyone because we'll be starving for new stuff to come out.
Well, I think
helps you.
It's also really good because, like, think about all the shows that, like, film and just never, they're just in the vaults because they just weren't good enough. And now, like, people are so desperate for anything that all of this stuff is going to come out eventually. And I think it's really good. It's like desperate times call for desperate measures. Give us any fucking content right now.
Yeah, totally. Is it part of the Thirst Lounge at all, or is it totally separate?
Just completely separate, yeah.
So you guys just kind of, you guys all were in the Thirst Lounge, right?
Yeah.
And you guys just like had a bond and you decided, hey, we're going to take this to the next level?
Yeah, so I came up here in January just to visit. Oh my God, there's a hummingbird outside my window again. I've been up here for almost 5 months, and this is only the second time that I've seen this hummingbird, and it's been this week, both times. Okay. Anyway.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I got a new puppy. And I kind of have to, like, she sometimes will just wander in, and I have to, did I mute it? Shit. Oh, no, there you go. Yeah, she just, like, wanders in, and I kind of have to spur while she wanders. But this is Princess Buttercup from The Princess Bride.
Buttercup.
And she is the best, and Crouton loves her so much.
Oh, that's and so good.
This is what's taking up my quarantine time now. I'm just, like, the happiest.
Oh my God, she's so cute. My daughter was fostering a dog. She fostered, she asked if she could foster some dogs. I said, sure, of course. She fostered a dog, had him for like 2 days. He got adopted. Then she fostered another dog, and he was like this rambunctious, crazy fuck. And he was at our house for like 5 weeks. And I'm like, Jaden, like, when's he going to get adopted? She's like, oh, I guess I should tell you I adopted him.
That is awesome. That happens to so many people. They call it foster fails, when you're like pretending you're going to foster it and adopt them out, and then you just never do.
She doesn't even like ask me, talk to me about it. Like, she just makes a decision. I'm like, you live in my house. Like, I understand, like, you're home right now, but if you come up here now, I have to deal with this crazy fucking dog who, like, a 19-year-old is training. And let's be real, like, not good. So, but I've just come to terms that Luigi is part of our family now. So.
Luigi, that is so cute.
Oh, I want a dog. Man.
Oh yeah. So I came up here in January. We totally got sidetracked by animals.
Sorry,
so I came up here.
My fault.
No, it was mine first with the hummingbird. We went hummingbird dog. So I came up here in January to visit the boys, just to kind of stream up here, because I had like 8K of my party poker bankroll to play with for Thirst Lounge. And I had until, I think it was like February 14th. So I came up here literally just to grind that roll. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna be up here for a week, and I'm just gonna throw everything at the wall and just see what happens. And during that time, Arlie and I got a little more serious, and Arlie is John and Drew's roommate. And I was talking about renting out the room, but then when Arlie and I got more serious, it was like, oh yeah, let's not do that because we'll kill each other. But just the three of us had talked about just creating more content together, and it just seemed like a good idea. And Arlie can't really create content with us because he's with Poker Stars. So yeah. And then we were approached and decided to, let's do it. Let's try it. And I'm so happy that we did. And it came at the right time. A paid project right now is so valuable with everything that's happening. So,
yeah, it's so stressful. Oh my God.
Sorry, the dog, she just eats everything like that. She's in the phase where every single thing seems like food. And so I'm just like so scared because she weighs 8 pounds. So I'm like, if she eats one thing that's like toxic, it's good game. So literally my whole life right now is like, don't eat that, don't eat that, don't eat that. And, like opening her jaw. Yeah. But that's awesome though, Ebony. Yeah, I feel you on the like any work right now is like so valuable. I'm enjoying like anything. If it's like, oh hey, edit this thing for me, I'm like, sure. Like literally anything, because you feel like, well, I can't play live poker, and for most of us, that was the softest poker you get to play.
Yeah,
that's
especially
a lot of the money that you make.
I lived in Texas. Like live poker in Texas is like poker from 2010. It's completely, it's Merry Christmas every day, and you like close your eyes and hope that they don't run good against you. Like that's the only thing. It's like that's the only way they're going to beat you. And going from that to playing online, I mean, now online, I mean, it is pretty soft because all of the poker players, most of the poker players are playing, but the transition is just, I have no ego. I will say it is a lot harder for me. And it's taking all of my power to not punt in every spot when I get frustrated.
Yeah, and you're right with online, like even if all of the bad players from live play online, they're probably going to play like 1 or 2 tables, and the pros will be playing 10 tables. So you're like, even if every like fishy live player transitions to online, there'll just be way more pros playing. And it's,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel you too. And it's like, man, the losing can be really fast. Like a downswing online is like, it is so fast compared to live. Where like live, you're like, oh shit, I lost for a week. It's a few $1,000s. I'm like, I could do that in one day online.
Yeah, it gets very brutal. It's testing me for sure. This week was with me starting WSOP and GG. I fired 7 bullets in the 400 Colossus, and 5 times I got it in as an 80-20 and lost. And I'm like, I fucking want to punch everybody in the face. Like, I hate poker. Why do I do this? And so, like, I just took a couple days off. I'm like, okay. It just hurts so much more when it's so quick. You don't even get to, like, sweat it out. You're just like, oh, it's over.
So quick. It's so crazy. Like, when I first came to, like, I'm similar to you where I just mainly played live. And Spraggy was like, okay, you have to play, like, $10 tournaments, like, on, on whatever site. And I was like, what do you mean $10 tournaments? No. And I was playing like for the 55 the first day. I was like, you're playing too big. Not just because of like the skill level, but because he's like, because like, of the variance. Like, he probably plays an average of like $200 to $300 tournaments, and he goes on 30K downers all the time. Like, it's no big deal. And so like, theoretically, you'd probably want like 50K to like never go broke if you're playing like $250 tournaments on average. It's crazy. So, and plus, it's just a whole new set of worms, and especially when you're streaming too, and you have to deal with the chat, and it's so tough.
It's a good transition into some stuff that's been happening recently. Dealing with the chat, and like, I don't know, I feel like you guys have done a lot more streaming than me, especially recently. Yeah. And I just feel like the standard that you guys set for dealing with the chat, like, I feel like the times I've popped into your streams, it's just been like, at most, it's like the eye roll and you being like, shut the fuck up. That's it. And then we have like sponsored pros that are telling people they're going to knock their teeth out and feed them to them anally.
Hey, Thomas Strata, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Block that cock motherfucking piece of shit. Fuck you in your ass. How about that? Okay, Thomas Strata? Fuck you in your ass. Eat some of that, piece of shit. Come fucking step to me and say that, and I will knock you the fuck out. How about that? Huh? I'm not fucking around. I will break your fucking teeth if you come step to me. And I will feed them to you anally. How about that? How about that? Okay, that'll teach you for a fucking stupid comment like that.
I was like, cool.
So I will say that I have said, like, suck my dick to some people, like, eat my ass. I definitely have said shit like that. The thing is we'll definitely get on the fucking feeding teeth anally to people. But for me personally, I know that 38-year-old Ebony on Twitch is much different than 25-year-old Ebony on Twitch. Like, now, like, I found Twitch at the perfect time where I am so confident in who I am. I don't give a fuck. My boobs are out for me, not for you. It's not like thirst trap. It's not any of that. It's just like, oh, today I'm feeling myself. I'm going to push my boobs up a little higher. And it's not like that all the time. Like, I'll stream with no makeup on, full face of makeup on, practically in a bikini top, practically in a turtleneck. I do whatever I want. And the thing is that women we get shit on so much more. We get attacked so much more. That's a fact. And especially in the streaming and the gaming industry where it's so male dominated, and you have these people at home who are, keyboard warriors who are sexually frustrated, who just have nothing going for them, who feel like they have to attack women because they're so insecure. And so I realize that now, that when people are attacking me, it's not about me, it's about them, but I'm still going to draw the line and I'm still going to call it out. And man, I don't think, as much as I've said to people, like, suck my dick and whatever, having, encouraging someone to fucking feed them teeth anally. It's so bad.
And you saying suck my dick is a joke. That's funny. Like, obviously it's going to offend some people who are like pearl clutching or whatever, but you're saying suck my dick. Come on. It's like, that's not like, I'm going to hunt you down and kill you. Like,
yeah, it's really bad. I don't know. I feel like I try to put myself in other people's situations, and like, apparently what's ironic is that people are actually believing that he went off like that because someone said more Rake is better. And I was like, how gullible are these fucking idiots? Like, but he said something about his wife. And so I'm trying to imagine, like, if somebody said something about my daughter, how I would react. I don't know that I'd be able to stay composed in such a high stressful situation where you're just being bombarded with negativity over and over again. You're playing poker, the fucking client sucks, the internet sucks. Yeah. Like, I'm not justifying his actions whatsoever. I think it's fucking horrendous. And I think when you make yourself a public figure and an ambassador of a site, especially something like Masterclass, which is a very polished, not fuck GG, but like, fuck like the poker stuff, right? Like, none of us are super polished. None of the poker sites, maybe WPT is polished, but like, no other brands are polished and really put together and really thinking about the people that they have representing them. Because it's just, we're human beings, we're poker players, and everyone curses. There's a lot of scumbaggery going on in poker. Mm-hmm. And I just think that Daniel Negreanu, being who he is, he has a responsibility to take a couple of seconds before he responds. And I can understand, but I definitely think he has to do better. Like, it's not even, it's very black and white. Do better, or relinquish all of your ties as an ambassador to the game.
And it's not about cursing. To me, like, I have heard a bunch of different people talk about swearing and stuff. And I'm like, I've never even, it doesn't even register for me anymore. And someone's like, fuck this, fuck that. Or like, oh shit, when they lose. If you take all the curses out and you say, I'm just going to punch your teeth out and feed them to you anally. Like, there's no curse in there. And that's the worst thing he said. Like, there's no swearing. It's just like, what is going on in your brain that you threaten someone in chat with that? And it's also the kind of thing where I'm like, there are some people in poker where if they said it, it wouldn't be as annoying to me. Like, when he says it, he has been the guy who like attacks other people for any little moral misstep they make. Yeah. Like, he was 2 weeks ago being like the person saying, Mike the Mouth, I don't hate you, I pity you, you've really lost it, and all this different stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but this outburst you had is very similar to the one he had. Are you now going to give yourself the same tough talk and actually like reflect on what you do? Or are you going to let yourself slide, but you're going to attack every other person?
Yeah, it's very hypocritical. And that's the thing, is just, it's one thing if all of these people, and I guess that's why I have the problem with Sean Deep being the one to call it Daniel Negreanu, is like, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And when these people, and Daniel Negreanu, Sean Deep, Mike the fucking Mouth, like, I hate that guy. I think these people are just, I mean, I fucked up a lot. I definitely have in the past referenced other women as bitches, other women as sluts, all of this stuff, while I'm doing the same sort of behavior that I'm judging them for. And so I have been guilty of being a hypocrite, but I'm now extremely aware of my behavior, and I'm trying to grow and trying to get better. And so the last thing you're going to see me do is shit on somebody that, like, go hardcore, shit on them, say that they need to do better, et cetera, and then 2 weeks later do the same thing and then just joke about it afterwards. Like, no, you have to do better. And being a hypocrite, especially in poker, I mean, in any industry, I think it's one of the worst things that people can be.
Yeah, totally. And I agree. I mean, just seeing how hard streaming is and the kind of stuff that, but at the same time, like Spraggy obviously has been doing it forever, and not forever, but for, you know, many years. And I see his chat and they say horrible things about me. They say horrible things about whoever, like just the worst things you could say to somebody. And sure, he'll be like, mate, take a hike, or mate, you're an idiot, you're getting banned, or he'll say that. But like, I don't think I've ever really seen him. I know that I haven't seen him just target somebody and just like threaten them and just make it really whatever. And I you know, but I also can know how toxic the chat can be. So it's tough.
Yeah.
And it's tough to say what an ambassador should be in poker, because, you know, even with the new sites like GG, it's like they are so I don't know what the word is, but liberal with their, you know, they want, I know people have done commentary for them and stuff, and they want more characters. They want people who show emotion. They want that. They don't want robots, and rightfully so. But where does it end? What's the line here? You know?
Yeah, don't you feel like we've created sort of like the poker community has created this false dichotomy between being a robot, personalityless, just, you know, you're just doing everything emotionless, and being a toxic asshole. Like those aren't the two options. Like you can have a great personality. Like Spraggy's a really entertaining person without threatening people in his chat and saying they're going to knock their teeth out. Like, I think that is something that we lean on a lot. Not we, but like in poker, I'll hear, it's just who I am. I just do this and that. I'm not a robot. I'm like, we're not asking you to be a robot. Like Daniel Negreanu of the past, like my little brother and I, he was our favorite poker player. This was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And he used to just be a fun loving dude who was like very talkative and like call out people's hands and whatever. And like, there's something that turned in the last couple years, and like, he's still the biggest ambassador for the game. I don't know how to like ask him, hey, can you get the old Negreanu back or something? Because it could be impossible. But there's not two boxes that you fit in. There's so much in the middle. There's so many people in the middle that are amazing ambassadors. We just had Ryan DePaulo on, who like, he's out of line 95% of the time. He's a crazy person. He's just like blah everywhere on his streams, but he's not like threatening people. I don't know. He just doesn't take it that far. So it's like, look, we already found one person who's kind of coming up who just won a bracelet, who's not one thing or the other. I think we could do better. I think we could get someone who's like big personality, but not mean. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I think the problem is with poker is that it's just very much because of the two choices. It's like people just see themselves in these ambassadors, you know, and they just think how would they want to be. And it's like the Pio solver nerds only think about making sure they say the smartest thing and making sure they play each hand perfectly and that it comes across whenever they're commentating or whatever. They're not at all thinking about the average poker viewer is not a Pio solver nerd. Like, and if we want to bring new people into the game, it does need to be fun. Because when I first started playing poker, it was because it was fun. And it's like, so that's the option. And like you said, like the super fucking assholes. And it's such bullshit that we just chalk it up to like, oh, that's entertaining. And it's like, you can still be respectful and be entertaining. You can still drop every F-bomb you want and still be like a good human being. And I like to think that I'm proof of that. I curse all of the time, but in my community, on Twitch, like I am building a very loving, open, inclusive community. And I realize that I'm an extension of that. I'm a reflection of the community that I'm building. And I think people have to take ownership for it. And it's just like yesterday, Poker Guru said faggot on his stream. And his apology was just like, oh, I'm sorry if I offended anyone. That's not an apology. That's like, hey, my bad, I ruffled some feathers. Not, hey, I'm sorry that this word is still in my vocabulary, that I use it. I need to be more aware of this. And people's reactions are like, oh man, we all say dumb shit. And I'm just like, no, this isn't one of those times where we just get to say like, oh yeah, we're all guilty of that. Maybe we all have been guilty of that. But when someone calls you out and you become aware of it, it's on you to get better and realize the fucking harm that you're doing by using this vocabulary.
Yeah, and saying I'm sorry that it offended you is the biggest non-apology. That's like saying I'm not sorry for what I said. I'm sorry that you're so sensitive that you can't handle hearing that word. Like, that is the worst thing I just see. I'm like, every time, especially in relationships, if it's ever like, oh, I'm sorry that made you cry. I'm like, are you sorry you said the thing? Like, you know, like, that's crappy. I don't know.
That's crazy because, like, I feel like, I don't know, that word too is, in my mind, it's up there with the worst words. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, my 16-year-old son is gay. So for me, when I hear that word, I have like a very visceral reaction to it. And there's no excuse, you know? And I truly feel that the whole, I'm sorry if I offended you. And like, especially when you're on delay, it's like a 5-minute delay on stream. Like, you know that you say it, cut your stream and just come back. You know, but the fact that 5 minutes went through and he just let it go, and I'm like, okay, so he should get banned on Twitch. And as somebody who is associated with ACR, like, I'm not an ACR pro, he is, but I think this is not a gray area thing. This is just sorry, not sorry. You have to do better. And your apologies can't be these one-off fake ass gaslighting apologies that actually don't do anything. You're just sorry that you got caught. And really, you're not even sorry that you got caught because you had an opportunity to delete it and you didn't. You're
sorry that people care about it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's like there's no apology there. And I don't know. I just wish the first thing that people did when they're told they're wrong, like, it shouldn't be to just be like, no, here's why I'm right. Or like, this person's such an idiot. It's like, if someone tells you you're wrong, the first thing you should do is be like, am I wrong? Like, should I maybe say sorry? Like, am I sorry? But figure it out. But it's like the defensiveness that comes like to people right away as soon as they get pointed out that like something, I don't know. It's easier said than done. Like, when someone's like, hey, you said this thing that hurt me. The first thing I want to do is be like, you shouldn't have been hurt and here's why. But like, that's a crappy response to someone saying they hurt their feelings.
It's a black and white thing though. Like, it's like, I mean, it's up there with the N-word. Like, it's like,
for sure,
it's known, dude. Like, don't use these worst 10 slurs that you can say in English language. And that's just, I think we agreed on that long time ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the important thing to note is that if it comes out when you're streaming, it probably is a word that you're using in regular conversation, because when things come out, like when you're heated, like, I can't imagine ever just being like so angry or so upset about something that I use that word. Like, I just never have. I don't, it just blows my mind. And the thing that I constantly am doing is reiterating, get better, because I do believe in human beings' ability to improve and get better. 20 years ago, me, 15 years ago, me, 10 years ago, me. Yeah. So I like to think, I believe in the good in humans. Like, inherently we are good. Inherently we can improve. And sometimes people just don't know any better. But like you said, this is just one of those words where you just know. It's so obvious. And we shouldn't just sweep it under the rug or pretend like it's fine because we all get upset. This is just, fuck that. Like, fuck that. It's really bad.
It's upsetting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And just for those of you who don't know, Negreanu has been banned from Twitch. And, you know, and I don't know what will happen with Poker Guru. You know, I've had minimal experience with him, and he was, you know, again, like, he was a nice guy to me, whatever. But like, you know, it's up for them to decide. And Twitter is Twitch is really bringing down the hammer with the bans lately.
Twitch is awesome for that though, and it kind of like puts poker players in their place a little bit, because in poker there's definitely like favoritism shown to some people who've like gotten to the top. Twitch doesn't care. Twitch is mostly other stuff. It's mostly other gaming. And it gives poker a platform as well. But they don't care. Like, Marley, you could become the most famous person in poker, and if you call someone, if you use some of the words that have been used lately, they'll be like, "Bye, Marley. Like, have a good life." They don't care, and I think that's kind of cool that Twitch is willing to stick up for people and make sure their community is like a positive, friendly place. Somerville was the GOAT at that. He created a community where like everyone was nice to each other. As soon as you weren't, you didn't have to use the N-word in chat to get banned. Like, let's say me and you guys are commentating and they're just like, "Oh, take off your shirt, show us your tits." Banned. Like, Snap did that until people were like, "Oh, this doesn't fly. Like, we have to all be respectful of each other." And it can be done. And I think about it with poker because my family, like, once in a while checks in on how I'm doing. They'll watch a stream, they'll do whatever. And I'm like, I don't want that to be like, I don't want them to be like, "Oh, she quit being a lawyer to do this degenerate activity where people call each other faggots and like threaten violence." I don't want that. And like, we all can handle it. I don't care. I watch the Negreanu stream, like, it's entertaining to me, but it's also kind of horrifying. And like, to the greater community, I don't think that should be like what they're confronted with. And I don't know. I think like maybe people don't think that much about that, but I still care what like other people think of the community that I chose to spend decades of my life in.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing
go ahead.
about Daniel. It's just yesterday, I forget what it was. It was some pretty popular poker Twitter account like shared this like story that Daniel had said that Twitch poker is bad and we need to go back to how it used to be or something. And it was taken way out of context. And Spraggy basically called them out publicly and was like, "I'm sorry, I don't think Daniel ever said this. Is such an insane quote. I don't think Daniel would ever have said this. The closest thing I could find is this, which is totally different." And then he obviously replied and said, "I never said that." And I think that's something we do too, is that when someone's down, quote unquote, then people like, they come after them, especially to the point where they'll like make up shit. They literally made up a story of something he never said. And it was so unbelievable that Spraggy was like, "Hey man, like, just because he fucked up over here doesn't mean you can then just make shit up about, like, basically blatantly lie about him, And we have a tendency to pile on. And I think in this case with him, it's, I think he fucked up and he needs to, make it right. But that doesn't mean I don't think that it's terms from banishing him from the community. Just yet.
Yeah,
and that'll never happen.
So. Yeah, I don't think so. The thing is like, I just want to see people improve. I want to see people put in effort. And all of the people that are shitting on Daniel right now, like, what are they doing in their lives to improve and to bring awareness and to bring more positivity into the game? Nothing. Every person that is like lashing out at these people, not every person, but a lot of the people that I'm going to say, I just have to say, I think we said this before. We were talking about Sean Deeb beforehand, before we officially started, but I'll just say this because I don't give a fuck. But when Sean Deeb is the one that calls out Daniel Negreanu and says, "Oh, we should ban him as an ambassador of the game," like, motherfucker, you're the one who, when we played together on Poker Night in America, you sitting right next to me, you just turned and leaned over to me and said, "You don't belong here. You're playing above your game." Even if that's true, what kind of fucking human being reaches over to someone and just says like, "Oh, bitch, you don't belong here"? Like, that is not anyone that is doing anything to bring any sort of positivity to the game. And so it is very a pile on thing. Everyone likes to kick someone when they're down, instead of saying like, "Okay, how can I make my industry stronger? How can I make it better? How can I get more opportunities for positivity?" And this is very, with Twitch and with poker. And right now we're getting a more inside look at poker than we ever have because of everything that's happening. So people playing World Series of Poker bracelets and streaming and connecting with their audience during, we should be grateful that we get to see this and experience this. But instead we are, and I say we, like a lot of the community is just being extremely negative and attacking. And it's like, you can only take so much before you fucking go crazy. But I definitely think that he's never going to leave the game, Daniel Negreanu. He's never going to stop being an ambassador for the game. And because of that, he needs to be aware that he has to do better. He just absolutely has to do better. There's no room for him to be physically threatening people's lives and using that type of language while doing so.
Yeah, and the reason why, it's just weird because like we've definitely touched on so many different just like concepts about basically when people fuck up online and when it's like visible for everyone. There are certain people where I'm like, if someone fucks up, I'm all for like not canceling people. Like, don't cancel people. Like, give them a chance. If they had like 2 days to like think on it, and then they go, oh man, like my dog died. That was the worst day of my life, and I said these things and I regret them. I'm sorry to this username because I didn't mean it. That kind of thing. Like, that should be it. Like, I accept apologies from people. Like, I think that should be allowed, and like let people be better. Let them like choose to be better in the future. There are just some people when no matter what they do, they get to judge everyone else and nothing bad ever comes down on them. And that's where I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I will pile on. Like, because
for sure.
To ever show remorse or ever try to get better. And then they still judge. Like, if I say something on stream, like if I go on Twitch today and totally fuck up, those same people will judge me. And I know it. So I'm like, that I just don't care anymore. Like, I'm not gonna like protect these people that like brands are protecting. I just don't care anymore. Like, I think I've made it pretty clear. I think Negreanu is like fucked up. He won't say anything or do anything about it. And it's whatever. It's just, it's not all about like getting canceled or like losing sponsorships or anything like that. It's like, if I were in that spot, I'd care about what people like me think, like someone in your community who used to love you.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you care? Shouldn't you care that like you kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. That would hurt my feelings. Like if it was 20 years from now and someone said, hey, you used to be really fun to follow on Twitter and you were so happy and like funny and now you just suck and are mean to everyone. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, it's taking a level of awareness. I think that the brands too also need, the onus is on them to put their ambassadors in their place and to take a stand and to make a comment like, hey, yes, this person is an ambassador for us, but we do not stand for this language. We do not tolerate it. We are working with him to be better. Even if they're going to continue their relationship, whatever it is, a statement needs to be made, action needs to be taken, and steps need to be made as individuals for brands, it's just so much work needs to be done. And I think people just would rather not do the work and just avoid it until it dies down or until the next, bullshit, freak out happens.
We interrupt this podcast with an important message from our sponsors at Run It Once. At Run It Once Poker, we're happy to announce yet another continuation of our weekly leaderboard program. From now until August 2nd, we're hosting 7 leaderboards broken down by stake in which the top 3 grinders for each stake will win massive cash rewards. And that's not all. All players who win a leaderboard prize this week will also be invited to test our newest upcoming feature, Sit and Goes. For full details, head to once.run/SNGboards. And as always, if you're looking to improve your poker game, be sure to check out Run It Once Training, where membership gives you access to the largest library of high-quality poker training content on the web, with over 5,000 videos from a stable of some of the biggest names in the industry, including Run It Once founder Phil Galfond. Sign up now through once.run/learn, and you'll get free access to 3 of their elite-level videos. And now, let's get back to the pod.
I don't know if you saw, Ebony, but last week we did talk about women in poker. Like it wasn't like a whatever structured topic, but it just come up, and I and Jamie got some feedback on it. So just want to get your thoughts too, just about what it's like to be a woman in poker these days, what your experience has been over the years. But yeah, last week, Ryan DePaula was on and he asked me about my vlogs, and I said, oh, I've heard that I've been accused of sucking dick for steak or whatever, but I don't. But it happens in the industry, and Jamie was disagreeing of that, and we had like a 2-minute discussion, and just from I want to get Ebony's perspective as well, but just from my perspective, I just want to make sure people don't interpret my words as saying that I condone objectification of women or I condone whatever. I simply just, it's been my experience. Like, I think I'd be remiss if I don't at least acknowledge that it has happened and does happen. But by no means am I condoning negative behavior towards women or saying that it's even bad that it happens. I think, and that just kind of, I just wanted to clear that up from my end. But
my main talking point for that was just, though, you said it happens, like a lot of women do it. And I was like, definitely not. Like, it's definitely a very small minority and they can do what they want. Like, sex work is fine. But just, I think it's harmful to put it on more women than are actually doing it, because then men think, oh, I can proposition a woman. Oh, female poker players will like have sex with me for a steak. Maybe I'll offer to back this one. And then the girl thinks, oh, cool, I'm getting a backer. This person thinks I'm good at poker. And the guy's really just trying to sleep with you. Like, that's the only reason that I had such a strong reaction last week. Because I was like, it's just not a lot of women doing it.
So I will say that just because Marley makes statements like that doesn't mean it's going to give men the idea that they can do that. Men objectify women completely on their own without any encouragement or without any statements from anyone else. The fact of the matter is that a lot of men, if they look at a woman, and I've been in the poker industry for a long time, and there have been plenty of times where I thought I was getting a real and true backer, and I realized I was playing the long game of deflection to see how long I could keep this guy backing me without anything happening. And it's like,
sucks for the guy too, because he's
I've had to do like the Heisman so many fucking times, and it's annoying. And the thing is that is not without anyone saying like, oh, she'll fuck you for a steak. So my thing is, men are objectifying women just for existing, period. It does happen in the poker industry. And I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm a big believer that sex work is work. I support sex workers. As a former sex worker, I used to be a stripper. I am just very like, so who cares? And if we can't make jokes about shit like that without men deciding like, see, this is why we don't respect you. No, bitch, you don't respect us, period, anyway. It doesn't matter how we show up, because at the end of the day, whether I show up in a tank top or a turtleneck, or I'm like completely covered from head to toe, or I'm looking like I'm trying to go in a twerk contest on the beach, it doesn't matter. Men are still objectifying women every single day. And that's the problem, not how we show up. Women just deserve respect inherently just for existing. And I feel like a lot of women have the tendency, women in male-dominated fields have the tendency to play the man's game and kind of follow their rules, saying like, well, if I show up in the ways that which they seem respectful, then they'll respect me. And that's just not true. And we don't have, as women, we don't have to shit on other women because they're wearing something that we don't agree, or because they acted some way, or because they did suck somebody's dick before the tournament. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. But every single person deserves respect. And it doesn't matter if this person, like, if a woman denies it or if she tells the truth. It's none of your fucking business. And the minute that we decide that we have a right to know, or it's our business, or that we get to judge, I think it's so far removed from like what the problem actually is. The problem is the men's behavior and the way that they treat women. I've seen so much negative behavior in live poker, not just towards me, but dealers, other players, cocktail waitresses, constant objectification. And it's the good old boys club where everyone just laughs. And I have definitely, way back when, I used to be a part of that, because I thought if I just sat here and I was like one of the boys and I laughed with them and I didn't make them feel guilty, that they would accept me, not realizing that the minute I walk away from the table, they're doing the exact same thing to me. And we think that if they look at us and they're not saying that, then hey, they don't look at us that way. And that's just not the truth. Fucking men will not all men. And so if anyone fucking ever says, not all men are like this, like, bitch, if this isn't about you, then why are you getting offended?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of men are constantly objectifying, and then a lot of men are witnessing men objectifying women and not saying a word. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think a lot of good men too will play poker, and a lot of people will go along with the crowd too. Like, if they're there and they're actually a good dude, a lot of times, like, they feel uncomfortable speaking up for you or standing up or whatever, and so, and you can't even get mad at them for that. It's like, it only takes one asshole who's like the table captain or the table bully who decides he's going to objectify women or be a dick, because it's happened to me, it's happened to Jamie, it's happened to everybody. You know, I've left crying many times. But I've played with like friends at the table or regs at the table I know, and I'm like, where were you on that? And they're like, well, I didn't want to like come to your rescue. I didn't really know. And it's so hard for everybody to know how to deal with situations. It really is. And it's really not okay.
I think one thing to say to that, Marley, just because I'm going to forget, when you're saying that about like guys not knowing what to do, I 100%, like, my boyfriend's like the nicest guy I've ever met. And he literally is like, oh, you're a tough chick. Like, you can handle yourself. I'm like, I can, but there are definitely times when I'm like, it's not that day. Like that day, I'm just like, I'm getting a barrage of like insults from one person. I'm just like, man, this is a time I really wish someone would just be like, yo, shut the fuck up to that guy. So I feel like one tip I would give to guys, like, there's always breaks, there's always time away from the table. Just be like, hey, are you okay? Do you want me to say something? Like, that's like always fine.
Or just text me, you know, or whatever.
Something, especially if you're regs in a game and they have your number, like, hey, Marley, are you okay? Like, you look upset about this. Like, do you want me to say something today? And then at least, like, it gives you the option, like, do you want someone to come in and like help, or are you just like, this idiot, I'm not even listening to him, doesn't even bother me, you know?
I think the bigger problem, because I've run into the same thing where I think as the three of us are all very outspoken women, we have no problem putting fuckers in their place and letting them know they're a fucker, like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I think the bigger problem here is that we even have to experience this in the first place. This is the problem. And I love poker so much. And I think about the very first time I ever played in a casino, and some guy told me that I needed to go back to the kitchen and go cook for my kids, that I didn't belong at the poker table. He was just so mad I beat him in a pot. But I had worked for 3 years in a strip club. So this was like, oh, bitch, like, I'm trained to navigate these types of situations. So I was just like ducking and diving. I'm like, it's fine. But it's not fine. We shouldn't have to go through that. And people shouldn't have to fucking put on armor every day to go to work. And just because it's something that we've always had to do, and just because men have always, it's been like the good old boys club where we can talk locker room talk or whatever, just because it has been that doesn't mean it needs to stay that way. And we definitely, you guys want to make more money. Like, you realize that poker relies on amateurs and for us to make money, you know, except when you get into like these like absolute like GTO stakes and whatever, where no one's making a mistake and they're just mouth breathers and they're just like, okay, we're holding still and poker's so boring to watch. Unless you're playing those stakes, you are relying on the casual player, the recreational player. And it should be more loving, more inviting, more warm. And it doesn't have to be this where you just get to have these reactions, these very visceral reactions to women or to people. And as a woman in poker, as a Black woman in poker, I see so much shit. And we need more representation. That's the fact of the matter, is that these sites, every brand that's affiliated with poker, not one brand has a Black professional poker player as an ambassador. Not one brand has a Black female ambassador. And there are very few brands that have any female ambassadors. And then and then once we get there, we're not protected. We just have to take these comments, you know, like these sexist comments whenever you're commentating. You know, it's just like, oh, this is part of the job. No. I think it's up to the brands and it's up to the people that are in this community to stop accepting this bad behavior and call it out every single time. Because the more you call it out, the more it will dissipate. That's just the fact of that's the way it is.
100%. Like the guy who makes some random gross comment about like the cocktail waitress ass or something like that. Like as soon as one other guy who's like deemed to be like, you know, one of them is just like, what the fuck, man? Like that's all it could take. It just takes like someone saying something, just like chill, bro. Anything, like some stupid little comment, anything will like really like nip it at the bud right there. But then if it's quiet, or if one of the person's like, yeah, totally, then it becomes like, let's all stare at the cocktail waitress' ass, like things like that. And then it's just weird being a girl at the table and it's like I want to fit in. So you don't want to be the one woman calling out some asshole's behavior.
Yeah. So
you kind of are quiet, and then I just feel bad. And I'm like, that's why I love online poker so much. I'm just like, I don't think about anything except for poker. It's great. Yeah. But live poker should be fun. It was fun. And it often is fun. It's like, it will just be like one or two random idiots. But yeah, I agree with you that like, it isn't fair for it to be like on the people being targeted to be like, how do I figure out like what I should say here and like what to wear and what to do? It shouldn't be on you to
just like when Madisau called what's her name? Megan called her a cunt. And it's like people's responses are like, oh, she's such a champ for her response. And I'm like, why is that your response? Why is not your response like, what the fuck, Mike? Don't do that. Like everyone just celebrates her reaction and no one is giving him a hard time. And so what that's doing is just letting women know, letting people know that, hey, just toughen up, Cookie, you know, and this is just what it's going to take. And it's just ridiculous. Like, and it's not just women. I've seen some racist bullshit. I was playing at Borgata a few years ago, and a table next to me, this very Banana Republic J. Crew ad looking guy was berating an Asian player at the table and like going like, oh, ching chong che, and like all of this shit. And I'm sitting at the table next to him. We're playing 2-5 cash, and I'm sitting at the table next to him, and I hear this, and I'm looking at the guy next to me, and I'm like, is nobody gonna say anything? And so, you know, the tables, how the 2-5 games, it's like six clusters of tables right there. Mm-hmm. So it goes on for a few minutes. So I get up and I stand up, I flip out on the guy. And I'm like, motherfucker, no one's going to tolerate your racist bullshit. And then I went off on the table. And the guy that he was yelling at was racking up. And he turned and looked at me with so much like, thank you so much. Because he was just like, I'm just going to go. Mm-hmm. And I yelled at the table. And I was like, and fuck all of you for sitting there and just not saying a word. And the guy looked at me with like, he was so shocked. And the floor comes over and they're like, Ebony, what's happening? And I told them, and they ended up kicking the guy out. But it just goes to show how many people just don't act. They would rather be comfortable in their bubble. They don't want their day to be affected. So as long as it's not me, it's fine. And that's a problem. If you see something, you should be saying something, because if it's not you now, it might be you in the future. And if it's not, I like always encourage people, like, the way that you talk to me, I'm somebody's mother, I'm somebody's sister, I'm somebody's daughter. So when you talk to me that way, you're just saying it's okay that someone else does the same thing to a woman that you care about in your life. And I would just encourage everyone that has ever thought about or has been guilty of talking to a woman disrespectfully or being racist or being objectifying, whatever it is, just being an asshole. Mm-hmm. Just think about how you would want someone to treat someone else that you love and respect, like your grandmother or your niece, you know, your 2-year-old niece. Like when she's 16, 17, 18, how do you want people to treat her? And that's how you should be treating the people that you come across, especially, and not especially, just period. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I could go on and on about this.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, we have the luxury of getting up if we want to, right? We're sitting at the table and we're like, if we are just like, I don't feel like fighting today and I just want to rack up and leave, we can. But most of the time, the target is a female dealer or a cocktail waitress or someone who's like depending on their job. And that's where I'm like, I have no problem with that. Like sticking up for myself, and like sometimes I'll do it and sometimes I just don't really care. Sometimes it really just doesn't even bother me whatever people are saying. But I think like we have to, like, you have to, when the dealer's being like, when guys are hitting on a female dealer for the full half hour they're sitting there.
Oh, I will.
Like,
dealers, especially, I always jump in with the dealers.
Yeah, they can't leave.
It's bad in LA and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make the point, Ebony touched on it before, just like the dynamic of being a woman in poker as a professional, or if you are getting staked or you are selling action. You know, I was thinking, because we were talking about this last time, and the line, I describe it as like the line between sex and money is really thin sometimes. And I feel like, I was talking about it with Spraggy too, it's like, I've been backed and I've been sold action, and I've been really lucky with the guys who have backed me. But it's like, if I was, nothing has stopped it. Like, what would happen if I was just backed by someone and I was makeup or whatever, and he was like, well, you know, you could pay me off some other way, or just made a move on me or whatever. It's like, it's always going to be in the back. And that's never happened. I just want to say that to me, thank God. But it is there. It is a reality. And like when I say things like suck dicks for steak, it's not even negative. It's just that it's like a power dynamic. It's not sex.
That's exactly it.
When you're a woman in a male dominated industry and there's money involved, especially if you're an attractive woman, it's always in the air. It's always a possibility. It's always out there that, like, if a guy is giving you money, or if there's a financial interest at any point, that could come into play, even if it's just flirtatious or whatever, some sexual tension. And I think a lot of women do, and it's no judgment, but like that gets blurry sometimes. And it's crazy.
I will say, so when your videos first came out, my ex and I were talking a lot about this, and he was like, well, you know, I think women, they know what's happening, this and that. And I was like, let me explain something to you. Because he said something along the lines of like, well, they're not good enough to get backed. And it was just this very blanket statement. I was like, let me explain something to you. When I first started playing poker, and even like the first decade of me playing poker, I didn't know how bad I was. You don't know what you don't know. And if you think you're good enough and someone comes and approaches you under the veil of it being a legit backing deal, you don't see anything else. You're just like, oh shit, yes, of course. Okay. And then and I have had backers that I've been where it started to seep into that gray area, like I said earlier. And that's the problem, is just like, there are plenty of people that get backed and staked that are not good, but if a woman does, then all of a sudden she has to be sleeping with this person, or she has to be XYZ. Or if you're seen talking to a woman, or like if a woman is seen talking to a man in the poker room, oh, they must be fucking. Like, it's just so many generalizations and jumping to conclusions that's really not fair. And it's such a double standard. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start doing it to men. If they're getting backed by other men, oh shit, you must be giving a really good fucking blowjob. Like, how is that feasible?
Man, Marley and I talked about that. We were talking about that over text the other day, where I was like, look, yes, it can get blurry in relationships. If you're dating someone and then you start like taking each other's action and stuff, sure, it can get blurry.
But relationships, like Ebony was saying, like, even if it starts off business-like, it turns sexual, or it turns like the guy, even if you're not dating him, like he can always say to you, like, suck my dick and pay off the makeup or whatever. Or maybe like you just don't know. It happens. And it's like, and we need to educate women almost of like, you know, that's not how it should be. If you want to date that person and that's part of your thing and it's your consensual thing, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's not how it has to be, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that, right? But
yeah, I just think it almost never happens like that. That's all I'm saying. Like, with all the backing deals and all the people I know that have been backed, there have been just like so many women have been backed. Yeah. I think it's very infrequent. I think that one harmful thing is like when people think every time a girl is backed, it's because she's giving blowjobs. Like, I think there are a lot of good women in poker that are backed because they're good financial investments. Especially now, I feel like the women who've stuck around in poker have gotten really good at poker. And I don't know. I just think like we've all had like isolated incidents happen to us, but I don't think that is the majority of the backing relationships and things in poker.
So I will say, I want to say like 5 years ago, I had a backer. He was backing me and a guy at the same time, a friend of mine, and we had the same backing deal. And there was an instance where we went to Borgata, and this guy had like, the backer had like this giant suite, and we all had like a group dinner. There was like several people in the group dinner, and he kept trying to get me alone with him. And I'm like, oh, motherfucker. Like, this is like, I'm deflecting. And so I was talking to the other guy that he was backing, and I was like, has he said anything to you about me? Like, I need to understand like what's happening. And it was just this very like, he would be like, come up to dinner. And I would make sure that I would go with the other guy. I would never like show up on my own. And these are just, I ended up having to stop. Like, I just broke the relationship with him because it was very obvious that what he was trying to do. He started sending me flowers, and I was like, oh, bitch, okay. Like, no, this is, but it's that power dynamic, because then he started
Ebony,
holding.
all my backers they send me flowers too. Just like, hey, you're in 50K of makeup, here's a bouquet.
Honestly, if backers would start sending their horses like flowers and like motivational stuff, man, they'd probably get out of makeup a lot sooner. Just saying.
True.
But he started holding the role and stuff over me. Like, we were both supposed to meet him to pick up money, and he had money for him and didn't have money for me, and then was like, oh, well, I want to talk to you about it. And he was like, he can go play, we can talk. And I was like, oh no, bitch, like, this is not happening. And it is that power dynamic, which is a major, major problem. So yes, like, I want to implore and like teach women and get them to realize that it doesn't have to be like that. And I want to teach men to be better and to stop holding power over situations of people that they like inherently have power over. And just women in male dominated fields, the men have power whenever it's like, it's groupthink, you know? So.
Yeah. But what is to be done about like there's just so much dumb shit when a woman's doing well in poker. Like, let's say Chrissy was on our pod, and she was talking about how an interviewer asked her like, oh, how did Alex help you get ready for this event? Like, what did he teach you? Right. Like, I don't know if there's anything that can be done at this point. There's just so many stereotypes that float around poker, especially online. Like, let's say, Megan Milburn's a good example. So she's a more casual poker player than Alex Rocha, her like longtime boyfriend. Let's say she wins a bracelet in an event. You don't think we'll hear from 100 different guys, oh man, nice bracelet, Alex Rocha. You really finally got your first bracelet, if it goes under Megan's screen name. That kind of thing. Like, that kind of stuff really annoys me. And I just don't know like if there's anything that we could say or do to kind of like crush those stereotypes. Because if Chrissy B's hearing it and she's like getting to the top of poker and clearly playing live.
That's why I made those vlogs, because I was sick and tired of literally everybody being like, you know, because everyone knows I've been backed by 2 different people and would say to my backer too, like, oh, you hitting that and all this shit. Like, and like I would be in the poker room floor of the way with my backer or whatever, talking, and people were open about it. And like, oh, you hitting that, whatever. It's like, I don't want to perpetuate those stereotypes. I think it's disgusting and it's really a fucking burden in my life. But I made those vlogs to be like, I tried to make this like crazy satirical version of it to be like, look how stupid this is. This is what you think I'm really doing? You think I'm going into the bathroom in between sessions and just being like, hey, like, obviously not, you know? And
you know how much work that would be? My God.
I know. It's crazy.
Shout out to all the women that are actually doing that sort of work. Like, that's fucking real work, dude.
There's only a few bathrooms I'd even be willing, like Encore maybe, but like all the other ones, like at the Rio, come on, it's like not even worth it. You're gonna get like hepatitis.
Yeah. But
we found where COVID originated. It's the Rio bathroom floor.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting now, because now that I'm dating Arlie, who's like the best guy I've ever met. He's such a good guy. It's so weird. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like I am worthy of dating like a really good guy. That's so weird, because I've only accepted like scumbags in my past. Like, not only, but like I probably shit on like a lot of the good guys I've dated and just accepted a lot of bad behavior. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, my idea of my self-worth and what others thought of me and what others deemed as the type of behavior I was worthy, the type of treatment I was worthy of. And so when you have these men just constantly treating women like this, like I was believing that I was like, oh, okay, like this is the kind of treatment that I'm worthy of. And so now I'm with this like really good guy, and I'm just like, this must be so hard for him to have me as his girlfriend, because I'm just like tits out, ass out. I'm very open, and I talk about our relationship. Like I tag him in like yesterday I tagged him in a video where this woman's like drinking semen in her smoothies every day. And I'm like, babe, like time for you to fucking up the ante on pineapple intake, you know? And like, I'm just like, this poor guy, like this must be so hard for him, but also congratulations. But so it's just, it's one of those, like, I'm just so comfortable now with who I am. And so I can have these conversations, and I can say like, I can be outrageous and still be worthy of respect. Both can be true. And I think that people in poker have a very hard time. And I say people, both men and women and everyone in between have a hard time merging the two. Thinking that if somebody has dated more than 3 poker players, you know, oh, they're sleeping around, or they're just like going from poker player to poker player. They don't deserve our respect. And it's just, this person can have slept around and still be worthy of respect. This person might have sucked a dick in the past and is not now. Like, it doesn't matter. And I just feel like people have a hard time merging 2 conflicting beliefs together into one scenario and realizing that you can just don't be an asshole.
Yeah, and just do what's comfortable for you, like what you think you should do with your own life. Because like I've had both sides of the coin where I've been like, oh, I'm just always in relationships, I'm so boring, I probably should have had more like casual sex. And then I'll hear like, oh, she's dated like a lot of poker guys, and I'm like, dude, am I fun or am I boring? And like, who cares? Everyone, you know, no one's gonna know, like no one knows what you really do or what's going on in your own life or how you feel about yourself or like how much sex you've had or didn't have or whatever. And people will make their assumptions anyway. And like, I wish I realized that when I was like 25 and then just went, oh, I feel like doing this thing today, I'm going to do it or whatever. Or like hear a rumor about yourself and just be like, oh, that's creative, you know, and just like brush it off. It's hard to do, but like, I feel like now I could hear anything and just be like, that's great. That's hilarious. Like how boring I know I am. Like if I hear a rumor now, I'd be like, I wish that were true.
Yeah. I appreciate rumors now a lot more than I did before. Like, when I think it was like 26, my boyfriend and I were playing poker at the Hard Rock. I got up to use, we were at a separate tables, and I got up to use the bathroom, and someone at his table was like, oh man, my homeboy was like hitting that last night. And like, my boyfriend and I were together the night before. And like, and he's just like, what? Because he came to me before and he was just like, man, why do I hear all these rumors? I was like, you do know people will just make shit up to be making shit up. It doesn't matter. And he was like, no, like, why would they do that? And so it was so nice, like not nice to obviously hear that shit, but it was so nice for him to see it firsthand. Like this guy just like going ham and and he just waits and lets the guy just like talk the whole time. And he's like, man, my buddy was hitting that. Like he was telling me all about it. He sent me some pictures. Like this guy was going crazy with like his idea of whatever, just completely lying through his fucking teeth. And my boyfriend just like sat there calmly. He's like, oh, that's pretty interesting because she's my girlfriend. And in fact, we were together all night last night. So was it her or, you know, and the guy just like immediately got up and cashed out. But it's just, that is a perfect example of you as a woman, you just hear all sorts of shit. And the thing that I've realized is that people who believe shit about me without getting to know me or without confirming with me, or like not confirming, but like saying like, hey, I heard this shit about you, not is this shit true? Mm-hmm. Those type of people aren't the people I want in my life anyway, because the people who know me will A, defend me if they hear that shit, and B, be like, hey, I want you to know what's being said about you, and not have any motives about it. Just like, yeah, that story always cracks me up.
Yeah, maybe that's the conclusion we should come to, is just that it like things are going to be said no matter what. Like if, you know, like Marley, if you win the Sunday Million, they'll be like, oh, I bet Spraggy was helping her at the end. Like,
yeah, but we all know Spraggy can't win big tournaments.
Exactly.
So.
That's what I was going to say. Dude, I used to get accused of that. I was dating a guy who had I was dating a guy a while ago who multi-tabled, like 40 tabled, and had like a tiny ROI, because he would just be a mass multi-tabler. You didn't need to be winning at 40%. It'd be like 5%. And they're like, oh, I saw that you won the 50 rebuy on Stars. Like, did he finish your tournament for you? And I was like, I would not let that motherfucker finish my tournament for me. I was like, what do you mean? First of all, I'm a massive control freak. Second of all, I try to be honest. And like, third of all, no, I think I probably had a better chance of winning one table. Like, if we 40 tabled, he's going to beat me. But it was just such an annoying question where I was like, maybe that'll just always be thought of us no matter what. And so it's like not even worth like trying to change the perception in that spot, because it's been like that for 15 years. And why would it change now? But when Chrissy B can enter 100Ks and like win 25Ks, and then they're still thinking that like, I don't know, like, I was sleeping with Fox and gave her this magic energy.
Yeah. If Chrissy B gets shit on like that, and I mean, what hope is there for any of us? Because she's like the darling of poker. She's so sweet. Mm-hmm. She's so tiny. She's so polished and put together. I mean, honestly, if she is getting that kind of shit,
yeah, why can't
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I actually sucked some dick for this puppy. Totally worth it. Would do it again.
You're probably doing it again anyway, so it's fine. And you're not with no promise of another puppy.
Right.
And here, I just want to remind like the fucks out here who are going to be like, oh, well, you guys want this, but then you're going to make jokes about this. Yes, we are.
But I've been making jokes. Like, I just think like acknowledging like the existence of this dynamic, the existence of this feeling, and at the same time saying, and fuck you for thinking it's me, or fuck you for not, because like, it's hard to say fuck you for, it's really hard because it's like this dilemma of like, fuck you for perpetuating the stereotype, but also, so what if it happens? But like, I'm also kind of gonna like celebrate the women who do it, or like celebrate, you know what I mean? And that's kind of, I think, the attitude that we want to make sure people at home, or at least me, I want to make sure people understand, is that that's how I come at it.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it. There's no shame in it. It's only like the shameful part is when a guy tries to take away like an accomplishment or something. Like, it's really, really hard to get, I keep using Chrissy's example. She's a great example. It's really hard for someone to get that far in poker. It's hard for a woman to get that far in poker. When she does, can we just say, hey, she probably worked pretty hard? And she definitely worked pretty hard. There's no like probably about it. She's worked on her game. And like, Jamie, you and I are like the old school live players where way before, you know, like studying was really a thing. Like, it was just your instincts, and like you just read people, and that's I mean, I'm somewhat ashamed, but not ashamed to say, no, I am ashamed to say, but I will honestly admit that I didn't start studying poker until a few years ago. And that was just because I was like, it wasn't, what I was doing was making me money. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting left behind. And my stuff is like, okay, my abilities to read people is still helping me, but the rest of my game is not well developed. Mm-hmm. And women don't have access to pods and groups of people that are working to improve their game the way that men do, just because it's a male dominated field. Like, we just don't have. And then when you do, you're like, okay, does this person want to sleep with me? There's all of these like flags that get, you know, that you're like, you have to pay attention to. So Chrissy B has absolutely worked on her game very hard. And it is annoying when anyone takes away from those accomplishments. And I just want women to be empowered, to feel their power, and to anytime that they're like, yes, bitch, I did this and I worked really hard to get here. And I don't want women to be afraid to say that, and to not be afraid to be like, yes, I did this. I did whatever the fuck I wanted. It's none of your business. Fuck you. I'm here. Deal with it. Yeah. And I just want to say, you shouldn't feel bad about not studying until the last few years, because it took a global pandemic for me to touch a solver. So I don't think you should feel very bad. I literally had to get locked in the house with nothing to do to study it. I think it's hard when you were someone who started poker because you loved it and it was fun, and you were like naturally good at reading people. You're like, oh, cool. you didn't start playing poker because you're like, I hope I get to do a lot of math soon.
Oh my God, I know.
So
even crazy, because I had some amazing backers who were really good at poker. Like I had Stu Patterson and Matt Waxman used to be my backers, and like they're really fucking good, and they're old school, really good players, and they were backed me, and they weren't trying to sleep with me. They just thought I was really good. And people, like, when I talked to my ex about this, he was like, wait, but you had like legit backers. I was like, yeah, bitch, I was good, like good enough to fool people apparently. Like they just didn't know. And because of that, like just, they thought I was good. No, we didn't really think about working on improving game. And it's evolved a lot. And I'm glad that I'm still a part of it. I'm glad that I'm still here. And it's like falling in love with poker all over again. I'm excited to study. I fall asleep sometimes. It is boring, but I still love it. And it's challenging and it's exciting. And I'm going to talk shit all the way to the bank. I don't care.
I know, we need you. We need you in poker. There aren't that many. Like, we've been in this for so long, and like, it's so nice. Like the Jen Shahadis and like, I don't like Liv Boré kind of ducked out. Vanessa Self's kind of ducked out. I'm like, there are people who really crushed, like kind of left. And I'm like, please don't leave. Because it's like, there just aren't that many. There's not that many women who like actually love poker, play poker for like, you know, to try to be profitable. And there just aren't that many that stuck around for so long because of the bullshit we talk about, partly. And because of other opportunities too. But yeah, I'm glad you stuck around and didn't let some like douchebag comments chase you out of this game.
Oh, they would have to do so much more to get me out of this game. I can't even imagine what they would have to do to get me out.
That's
because I can always suck dick if I have to. I mean, like, babe, I'm just kidding. I love you. I'm not sucking anybody's dick but yours. Okay,
oh my God, the best was what dude DePaulo last week goes. He's like, look, I would dabble, you know, if I had to. I'm not going to play micros.
He said, if I liked it in any way, trust me, I'd be doing it. Or like if I could take it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just before we go, I mean, maybe you've already answered it with the studying thing, but I kind of wanted to ask you, you've been in poker so long. What's the biggest thing that you've seen that's changed over the years?
Twitch poker is the thing, I think. I will say shout out to Bill Perkins in the Thirst Lounge, because without it, I wouldn't have found Twitch until probably the pandemic, which is the way a lot of poker players have found streaming. Marley, we got you on Twitch because of this, thank God. But honestly, it's a new layer of fun for me, and it's like a labor of love, because it is so much of the community aspect and the dynamic with it. It kind of reminds me of like the old school like the Bay 101 Shooting Stars, you know, when you would go there and all the fans would be there and they'd be waiting to talk to you and take pictures, and it was just, that was so fun. And so Twitch is kind of like that, except you start to get to really know these people. And so for me, that has been the thing that has been the most fun, the most change, and seeing content creators really merge the fandom of poker with the professional aspect of it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jamie, anything else you wanted to
No, I was just going to say, every time I talk to you, Ebony, we talk forever. Our pod's usually like an hour, and we're like, fuck it, we'll go an hour and a half. No, and I feel like we could have gone 3 hours, but no, it's always so nice to talk to you. And like, I don't know, it's really nice to hear your perspective, because I just feel like you are a slightly more evolved me. Like, I always feel like your thoughts on poker and women in poker, how you feel about like mistreatment, everything, like, it's just always like slightly, I feel like in 2 years, I'll be like saying the same stuff that you're saying. Like, you're more accepting of how you feel about things than I am. I'm always like, I still, when I'm at the table, want to be like, oh, I kind of do want these guys to like me. I don't want to be the person who's like the squeaky wheel. And like, I kind of am sometimes quiet in spots where like, eventually I think my fuck it's will go away, and I'll just say like,
yeah, well, it's also because I'm older too, right? Like, I'm older, and I have a teenage daughter, right? She's 19. And so a lot of the things that I do now and the way that I've been able to evolve or devolve, maybe in some people's eyes, I don't give a fuck, is because I want my daughter to be able to, and I want my bisexual daughter and my gay son to be able to own who they are completely, and to know that whenever they're getting, this negativity or whatever, that it's just not about them. And I want them to be so certain and so proud. And I don't want them to wait until they're 38 to get to this point. Because if I would have had someone when I was 19, 20, 21 to just tell me these things, I would have navigated poker a lot more. I mean, it's the speed bumps, right? But it just would have been a lot smoother for me, because I wouldn't have been so focused on what people thought of me or how I presented. I would have been more focused on getting better and enjoying the ride. And that's all I want. So if I can get if there's one 21, 22-year-old girl out there that's playing poker, woman right now that's out there playing poker and is not sure how she should show up however the fuck you want. Like, it doesn't matter whether you do or you don't, whether you try to please everyone or not. People are going to judge, people are going to jump to conclusions. And so the point is just do what you want. And so for me, that's been my biggest motivator, is making sure that I can be a representative for my kids to own all aspects of their power, not just parts of it.
Awesome. That's awesome.
That's a good conclusion. We can't do better than that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, girl.
Yeah, this is great. We'll see you guys next week. And until then,
kick some ass.